Ralph Bagnall here for Consulting Woodworker, and today I've got a first look for you at MicroJig's new MatchFit Dovetail Clamps. The MatchFit Dovetail Clamp is different because the head is actually forged into a 1/2-inch 14-degree dovetail shape, which perfectly matches the shape of a dovetail slot made with a common 1/2-inch 14-degree dovetail bit. This is a very common bit. You probably already have one in your router kit, and if you don't, it's cheap and easy to buy. So anywhere that you can create a 14-degree 1/2-inch dovetail slot, 3/8 of an inch deep, with your bit, you can add a clamp. The head slides right in. While it's engaged in the slot, it stays wherever you want to clamp it, and you can add a clamp anywhere you can put one of these dovetail slots. This is my guide rail system for reducing sheets of plywood in the shop before I go to the saw. It guides my circular saw. Well, with the dovetail clamp, I can just insert a standard 1/2-inch 14-degree dovetail into the bottom edge of my guide rail, and the MatchFit clamps simply slide into place. So no matter how wide or narrow this board is, my guide rail is 40 or 56 inches wide, so I can cross-cut a full sheet. Or I can combine two of them together to rip-cut a long sheet, and both of them can use the MatchFit clamps to hold them tight to my part so I can cut it off without having to mess around with clamps or dodge the clamps that are above the material. Now, when I first designed the guide rail, I actually used a T-slot underneath here and used T-slot clamps to hold it to my parts. The difference is that the MatchFit is very easy to move, very fast acting, and I can adjust it quite rapidly, but it also gives me 5 inches of clamping capacity from the bottom of my guide rail, which T-slot clamps won't give you that kind of reach. So I found that these are more useful and rebuilt my guide rails in order to utilize the MatchFit dovetail system rather than the T-slot. Here at my drill press, I want to be able to use my drum sander, but I can't get it right down to the tabletop. So a simple piece of board with a notch cut out of it allows me to do that. But how do I attach it to the table? Well, by simply cutting a 1/2-inch dovetail groove, 3/8 of an inch deep, onto this part, the dovetail clamp slides into that groove, allowing me to place the board where I need to and secure it in place without the clamps being in the way. They actually mount inside the board, so now I can use this entire surface without the clamps getting in my way. This is a pretty big deal. There's a lot of applications for this type of clamp. I've been using these clamps all over my shop. Making a straight edge guide or a fence is just a matter of plowing a dovetail groove into any piece of wood. They're perfectly suited as fence clamps for your drill press table, your bandsaw table, even your router table. No slots to cut in your table or T-tracks to fill up with dust. Put another dovetail slot across the front of your fence, and now you can clamp stop blocks anywhere you need to. The clamp is reversible, so your stop blocks can end up anywhere on the fence that you need them to. I also found the dovetail clamps a useful solution for holding various tools on my workbench or a table or even just a work stand. A piece of scrap plywood with a couple of dovetail grooves in the bottom, and you can secure your benchtop tool wherever you need to work in a matter of seconds. And you can switch between any number of benchtop tools very quickly. One of the things that makes the MatchFit dovetail clamp so valuable around the shop is the fact that whatever you're holding, the clamp is embedded inside it. So I can create a sacrificial fence for my table saw just using one board and a couple of the clamps. I don't have to fight with the clamp heads. I don't have to worry about them being in my way. There's just a dovetail slot on the back side for holding. So now there's nothing in the way of utilizing my fence. I don't have to worry about dodging the clamp heads, which when working around your saw blade is never a safe thing. And I don't have to worry about building some kind of structure, which I then have to store, to fit my saw fence. All I need is a single board, 2 dovetail slots, and the dovetail clamps. Now another cool feature of these clamps is that the heads are reversible. By simply removing the rear screw here, I can reverse the head and now I can use my clamp to clamp away from the body. And there's a couple of reasons I might want to do this. Here, for example, I've got a template for milling some legs. They're small. I definitely want to have a template sled so that I can keep my fingers away from the cutting. Now, if I use the clamp in the normal condition, then the head gets in the way, and I don't need that. But by reversing the clamps, I can align my part where I want it. And then simply apply the pressure I need. In addition to holding the part to the template sled, the clamps also act as my handles. I don't have to add anything else, and I keep my fingers away from the cutter. Reversing the head gives you the opportunity to make all sorts of assembly tables and clamping guides without needing to buy expensive T-track to mount everything in. Just cut your dovetail slots into some good quality 3/4 inch plywood. At a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $39.95 per pair, the MatchFit Dovetail Clamps are a little bit on the high side price-wise. But with literally hundreds of applications around the shop, and the fact that the clamps can very quickly and easily be moved from one task to another, you may find it very easy to justify the price. To find more great content like this, visit my website at www.consultingwoodworker.com.